All right. Today we are react to No, You Actually Don't Need to Be More Feminine by Lonnie's Lens. Okay, so me see that video here. You know, me see it. Me just scroll yesterday on YouTube and me say, interesting video. You don't actually need to be more feminine. More here, she has said, me think me watch couple of videos. Me remember if me react to any of her videos before, but I'm definitely watch couple of videos them. And she make interesting video. So just the year, feel listen and learn because we're a woman. So we just have to hear what she have to say. If we agree, we agree. If we disagree, we disagree. Let's see. For the most part, though, I just listening and learning.
And I just want to help you, Abel, but you're not
Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up! Shut up! What are you doing?
When I get into a relationship one day, if you ever witness me saying something along the lines of, my partner took me out of my masculine energy and put me into my divine femininity, I give you, whoever you are watching this video right now, my express permission to slap the pimp shit out of me, because I've clearly lost the plot.
Get a hold of yourself.
Doctor, you're one on the phone. Everything's gonna be all right. Please,
Sister, please, I'll handle this.
yourself.
I gotta get out of
For obvious and legal reasons, I am completely joking. Do not touch me. When those closest to me describe me, the last descriptor I would expect or want them to use is feminine. When I hear the word feminine, I immediately think feminine product and like, fuck, am I supposed to be a tampon? I'm sorry, I just have to say weird things or I'll explode. But if you get that reference, you're amazing, by the way. But seriously, feminine? We're just gonna have to be a lot more specific. I will take dainty feminine cunt, but it has to be those exact words in that exact order.
Feminine.
If not,
Hopefully she like talk about the definition.
I'll save it. As you may have noticed, femininity is not something I naturally gravitate toward. I am a woman and I cherish that part of my identity, but I noticed that I do instinctually distance myself from femininity and I wanted to understand why. We just started the video and I'm already struggling to say femininity.
Okay, don't hurt yourself.
But believe you me, I am not opposed to femininity in the slightest, in myself or others. I am, however, very opposed to the warped version of femininity that is pushed online and in our modern culture. Over the years, I've heard this phrasing used more and more frequently by women when talking about their self-described first healthy partnerships with men. It typically goes something along the lines of, this is the first time I felt comfortable enough to be put in my femininity and be allowed to exist in my softness as a woman. That is so disgusting. Oh my god. I really had to tap into my Princess Nokia for that one.
My pheromones and my chemistry and the way I walk, I am divine feminine energy.
I've heard this sentiment from numerous women, some of whom I actually adore, but this sentiment always greatly confused me. It never made any sense, and hearing it repeated and accepted uncritically has perplexed me even further. I'm not sure why we've all taken this explanation at face value, so I want to explore my confusion and these women's conviction to get to the root of this thought process and understand what it reveals about our culture's current understanding of femininity, what it is, what it's not, and most importantly, what it could be. Welcome back to Lonnie's Lens. As a friendly reminder, everything that I say on my channel is simply my thoughts, feelings, and observations. These videos are not intended to be solely educational dissertations. I'm simply here to provoke thought and encourage reflection through Lonnie's Lens. On that note, my name is Kaylani. If you love thoughtful deep dives, camp, and a bit of whimsy, you're in the right place. My last video on this channel was about Gen Z and our proclivity for loser behavior. The video before that was everyone is hot, but no one is attractive anymore. I've been on a pretty good run recently. If any of that interests you, everything will be linked down below in the description along with my socials. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, especially if you've been here before. And with that, let's get back into today's video. But first, a word from the sponsor of today's video, Laylo. Masturbation. The toy brand, known for its luxury design, premium quality. Much to Laylo for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back into the actual video. When speaking about gender, particularly online, the conviction and assuredness people have about the rigid frameworks for gender roles, expression, and identity has always been fascinating to me. The rhetoric used typically involves a heavy emphasis on science, biology, and the natural order of human beings, while never actually being rooted in any science. There's actually very little scientific consensus when it comes to gender expression and the roles that femininity and masculinity play in our lives.
Because gender, like, you see because like mm, it- like them not gonna have no sense behind gender because gender no really, gender no is not how we make up gender. If you get what me I say, how we make gender. No. Sex no, male or female, you gotta always have sense behind that, cause but how we make gender, so yeah. Anything we say and make up and this and that, it always gonna be, oh, woman do this or man do that or do that, because it's not in and nothing biological and nothing like nature. And we just make it up. So them always like have conflict because they can never like go back down to our root because we make it up.
As with most social constructs, the traits and roles that are associated
Social construct. That is what me I look for. That was the word. It is a social construct. What me think me explain it good?
with masculinity and femininity vary greatly across the world and have evolved throughout history. However, I do understand the compulsive need to categorize and simplify things by placing them into set boxes or roles. It's human nature. I'd like to encourage us to move away from this black and white thinking in general, but for the purposes of our discussion today, specifically in terms of gender roles. As I mentioned in the opening, I have always been hesitant to identify explicitly with femininity. I think it's partly because of the lack of specificity that term carries for me and most people when they describe it. Can we get a little bit more specific? As pointed out hilariously on TikTok, a lot of the tasks or actions associated with masculine energy are simply the responsibilities of any independent adult, like paying your rent on time, and the
Yeah.
feminine habits pushed are typically things like taking care of yourself or your appearance. When I asked the people in my life how they define femininity, they said things like soft and nurturing and how it pertains to motherhood. But I've always felt that that explanation and those specific traits
So yeah, that kind of boxing because alright, so suppose you know want to be a mother. So that part there, your feminine that part okay. That word there, that part there just like it lock off or you can't like call it all like a holistic feminine thing if you not tap into the side there. I don't know, I learn. Well listen.
should be what we say rather than using femininity as a blanket umbrella term for qualities that need not be gendered. And tying femininity and womanhood to giving birth to children has never sat right with me because there are trans women who can't give birth, there are cisgender women who can't give birth, and there are cisgender women who choose not to give birth even if they could. So I just personally think
And
that
everybody
motherhood
wanna
and
have
womanhood
kids.
should not be inextricably linked, even though there is definitely overlap. A quick search for traits associated with femininity yielded words like gracefulness, gentleness, empathy, humility, sensitivity, warmth, and charm. Why are these associated with women and femininity? To me, these traits are very neutral and should be encouraged in everyone regardless of gender identity, right?
Mhm.
To illustrate my confusion and contempt for the gendered
No, because the woman in a freedom world, not mine, the woman's supposed to be soft and submissive and all of them something, and the man's supposed to be strong. So anything soft and weak, that feminine, quote unquote soft, because anything, oh, listen,
categorization of these traits, I want to share an observation I had while watching the Louis Theroux Inside the Manosphere documentary. During a tour of Justin Waller's family home, Louis asked Waller if he did baths with his children when passing through his bathroom. He immediately and very defensively said no, he doesn't do baths, diapers, etc. The implication was that all of those activities were nurturing and caring, and therefore feminine and reserved for
What?
his wife.
So him not care about him pitney them? To be the pitney? Feel like be the pitney and change it? What? Them money, them. No, why people even listen to them money?
While he stayed in his own masculine lane of providing financial security. His wife agreed, asserting that they stay in their own lanes according to their gender.
We don't cross into each other's lane.
But my immediate reaction was, oh, so you don't partake in bonding and care-related activities with your children if they are deemed feminine? Okay. And this
That's
is where
dumb.
arbitrary gender norms have always been insidious to me. A man is resistant to even,
Yeah,
and this is where
So see now what to say. Feminine, not aggressive, dependent, easily influenced, submissive, passive, home, submissive, passive. easily influenced. Easily influenced. That's a feminine. That, oh my, that not even sound right. Easily influenced. That not sound like a good trait we have man or woman. Let's see what else that you know. Easily hurt emotionally. Come on, come on, come on. I saw our girl still. Hopefully we can break out tight, but indecisive. That is a very general. That talkative, gentle, sensitive to others' feelings. You know, it just sounds like anything where man quote unquote call weak a feminine. And me would take up nothing where somebody consider, well, somebody else can consider it weak and you consider it powerful. But you know, this just, yeah, some of them things, you know, no, some of them stereotype and then just, yeah. If you look back on them now, yeah, 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 me not agree. Tactful, me don't know what that mean. Cries a lot. Eh. No, continue video.
Arbitrary gender norms have always been insidious to me. A man is resistant to even the idea of caring for his children in certain ways
Yeah, that's
because
a
care,
foolishness.
warmth, and nurturing are all terms under the feminine umbrella. But this has no bearing in science and is just a societal construct that limits us in how we show up for the people in our lives. And I just can't help but wonder what would happen if, God forbid, anything happened to the mother of his children. Who would take on those responsibilities that were deemed feminine?
Him just go find another woman to do it, sadly. As no, so we tell him like so single fathers feminine because them be them pitney and take care of them pitney and do all of the things them way a mother would then typically do in a today's society. If you be the pitney is feminine, dog, you see how them dog. I don't understand how people look up to them money. Their money are weird.
He would just start the hunt for the next feminine person who could take care of his children in that way. I don't like it. I don't like it. I love my dad dearly and we are very close. He is a prime example of your stereotypical masculine provider father figure and has been a solid presence throughout my life that I'm eternally grateful for. I always mention my mom in my videos, so I'm trying to, you know, even the playing field a little bit here. I'm also very close with my dad. But I remember growing up when I would show emotions like sadness or worry around my dad, he would ask if I needed to speak with my mom or literally whatever other woman was available. And I always thought this was odd and would think to myself, no, I just need my parent or a supportive person like you. I'm very proud to say that he's gradually become a better support for me in those moments after I brought this pattern to his attention, but it deeply saddens.
Really? I never experienced that. I don't too cool still. Yeah, show no emotion. But like it's so bad where in man name like they can't even like show up like your daughter say, oh me I feel sad or me this and that and say, you want to talk to your mother cause because would understand like if it's like you know like some feminine thing like period or thing like that and like if like she experienced that for the first time she come to you and say da 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 and then you're just like direct her to her mother, but if it's just like yo that him not feel good that I say like deep rooted. It's crazy.
Me to think that he never would have embraced or developed his emotional intelligence and nurturing abilities.
No, looking at it, it probably seemed like you know, like that's crazy, but probably as I say, I saw them grow. Like me know people go, you know, the weird dog fish them go look on some things that we used to do and say, what? I don't know if I do that. But you know.
Because they were deemed too feminine. But that's just my dad, and it really saddens me to think about all the fathers who will never come to that point with their children because of their fear of being perceived as feminine. So my hope is that we all start expanding our identities beyond these scripted and rigid roles that have been laid out for us. Because really, when we think about it, that's all they are, parts to play. I'm trying to move away from referring to other people as NPCs because I value curiosity and it's not a good habit to assume that others lack just as much depth and complexity as the next person, yada yada yada. But I am going to continue to call out and analyze NPC behavior. I know, I'm slick with it, there's always a workaround, okay? The framing I introduced in the beginning of the video, this is the first time I felt comfortable to be put in my femininity and to be allowed to exist in my softness as a woman, is textbook NPC behavior. But it's also a real life copy pasta. I've used this term before in a video, but I realized I didn't actually explain what it is. By definition, a copy pasta is a block of text copied and pasted to the internet and social media. Copy pastas containing controversial ideas or lengthy rants are often posted for humorous purposes, to provoke reactions from those unaware that the posted text is an internet meme. But I found that copy pastas exist all around us, and some people unknowingly use them, unironically, in real life. And the worst part is, they aren't even funny. But seriously, I think these real life copy pastas reveal a lot about how quickly and uncritically we internalize messages as a society, and why. One of the things that bothers me the most about the femininity copy pasta is its lack of specificity. Despite being parroted by so many different women in different relationships, it all sounds exactly the same. And when you press these women further, what they're actually describing as femininity is just feelings of safety, softness, ease, and vulnerability. But it's like, shouldn't the man in the relationship feel those things too? Shouldn't he feel safe enough to be vulnerable and soft with his partner? It just sounds like we're describing a healthy relationship dynamic between two people that should exist regardless of gender identity. Like, why, right? I've also noticed that when these women speak about their partner, you could quite literally swap them out for any person. It is
I just realized I never look back on the masculine side. Probably should have do that. On the stereotype them. Yeah.
so insanely vague and honestly a little
Then again, I probably would even like even see like probably would even could have look at it like they look on the feminine on them, because it would have probably just sound like most I would have just sound normal to me when would have to look back deeper, you know.
insulting. It reminds me of a friend I had who was telling me about her boyfriend of 4 years, and the most she could say about this man was that he was nice. I will be damned. I feel like if I have one conversation with someone, they could come away with at least 5 adjectives to describe.
Him nice. Him nice. So your boyfriend if I want you know 4 years. You know, what you really like about him? Him nice. Him nice. Yeah, him nice.
Me, none of which including nice. That is so insulting. Don't ever describe
That's not like I talk about food or something.
me as nice. I hate that. And 4 years? 4 years? You could write a book.
And nice sound kinda like I prefer if you say me kind. You know? Nice sound like me unconfrontational. Okay, big words. And nice sound like you can just like walk over. But if you say me kind, like kind just sound like, you know? Yeah, he's a kind person. Like kind sound better than nice. Say kind. Yeah, say kind more, guys. Oh my god, I speak that just never mind.
You should be able to write a book about me, personally, okay? But that's the thing, there are no specifics about their partner's qualities, just a vague allusion to their masculinity, as if that's all there is, or all that matters. But I've come to realize that the vagueness is actually by design. It reminds me of this post from Ice-T that I put in my Having a Boyfriend is an Embarrassing video, which I'll be bringing up a couple times in this section. He tweeted, "Sometimes people ask me for marriage advice because I've been happily married for 25 years. My answer? I know how to be married to my wife, not yours. LOL. And as always, we greatly appreciate the honesty, Ice-T. But most of us don't want to hear that there are a vast and infinite number of factors that determine
nuance. Everybody case different. It's like when them put like everybody in this feminine is this that. So our girl supposed to feel wrong if she's not easily influenced. She's supposed that is masculine because she's not easily influenced, or any one of the other thing they want me to see in the feminine stereotypes. Like, it's just, and again, this is a social construct, so it not gonna lead back to nothing biologically or like innate in a way, if you get what me I say. So I just hold on, yeah, man. Just be yourself. If some might fall under the quote-unquote feminine or the quote-unquote masculine, if it not make you feel bad or anything, do what you want to do. alive.
Whether two people with unique individual needs can come together and commit to the never-ending process of maintaining a healthy
Yeah, it's like you just want the goods. Just be good people. You know?
and mutually beneficial relationship. We don't
No be with nobody we're gonna try force certain behaviors upon you or force certain alright, me like it, me prefer when you do this or that or stay like this or this or that. No, especially when them come see other way. Unless it's like somewhere like to help you. You know?
want to hear that shit. You can't sell that, and it's hard to buy into yourself. It's much easier to explain that you met someone who exhibited all the behaviors that align with masculinity and naturally
The divine feminine twin flame soul will also contain elements of masculine energy that complement their divine masculine divine feminine divine. Oh my, them some are just kind of funny.
you were able to fall into your predestined role of divine femininity. We'd rather do that than accept that love and partnership, though they do take work, are not something you have to earn solely by optimizing your gender expression. But why would you sit with that reality when you could buy into the much more seductive fantasy? The fantasy that once we are pretty enough, thin enough, feminine enough, everything else will fall into place. I also talked about it in the Having a Boyfriend is an Embarrassing video, but I've noticed that these gender roles are actually a way for us to avoid intimacy with ourselves as well as others. This comment I got yesterday reminded me of that point, and I'd like to read it to you guys. The point about leaning into gender roles to avoid being known was a mind-blowing realization for me because it makes so much sense. If we perform in expected ways and get rewarded for it, we don't have to rely on our individual traits and desires to receive partnership. Bingo!
And
I know, I'm
that's
just trying it out. I'm trying to find
crazy.
ways
That's great. That's so sad. That's so sad. If you live like that, putting yourself in certain boxes, acting a certain way, you know, you not be yourself so you can attract a partner.
to say I agree, other than saying I agree or exactly. I don't think bingo's gonna be the one. though. I was just trying it out, shit. But yes, in that video, I pointed out how we treat the opposite sex or gender as a monolithic species to decode. But what I failed to realize is that we actually do it to our own gender group, treating it as something we have to study and emulate to the best of our ability. And I said then that it actively discourages getting to know your partner because you can just apply the cheat code for their gender. But in this case, a lot of people are applying that gender cheat code to themselves instead of taking a deeper look and experiencing self-intimacy. So I think one of the main reasons that the copy pasta script is so identical across so many different women in so many different relationships is because, like I talked about in my No One Is Attractive Anymore video, genuine self-reflection is intimate and uncomfortable. It doesn't always give you clean answers or satisfying conclusions, and that's really hard to sit with. Looking closely at the particulars of your own situation requires a kind of vulnerability with yourself and with another person if you're in a relationship that is neither simple nor marketable. So instead, we instinctually reach for the pre-made, easily digestible frameworks that are already available and that society has deemed acceptable. We use these scripts or copy pastas because it provides the feeling of insight without the cost of actual introspection. The actual wildest part to me is that a lot of these people impart their wisdom like they've been in decade-long marriages like Ice-T after only being in a relationship for a few months to maybe a year. Like, you don't have the credentials. Like, you don't have the credentials to be giving out this advice, and it's so wild. It's so funny because these people that have actually been in long-term relationships and have figured it out for themselves are very reluctant to give advice. But it's always the people that have been dating somebody for 3 months that are like, no guys, I cracked the code. I cracked the code. It's only been 6 months, but I figured it out. And it's like, what? Like, the audacity. The audacity is truly crazy. But I think it's intentional. We are expected to turn around and sell this narrative to others before we've even tested its foundation ourselves. But I said the exact same thing about romance and love in the Having a Boyfriend is an Embarrassing video. It all just feels like a pyramid scheme. It's funny how I'm just like regurgitating a lot of points from that video, but this time focused on self and focusing inward. It's very cool. It reminds me of another documentary I watched about a cult called Twin Flames University, where leaders claim to help people find true love. The successful couples were then expected to become coaches for singles, despite not having a particularly strong foundation themselves. That structure is nearly identical to what we see online and in real life. You are expected to adopt a framework that you haven't fully examined for yourself, then declare yourself transformed and begin recruiting other people. Questioning the framework would mean questioning your own transformation and your relationship, and that's a big no-no. In my opinion, the most insidious part of all of this is that it implies that femininity exists outside of you, that it is granted by the right partner, and it is contingent on how you are perceived. This narrative suggests that the right man or person is the key to unlocking your femininity, and it all just sounds like codependency rebranded as healing.
Yep.
But of course,
Remember what something say? Dependent is a feminine trait. Crazy.
as per usual, that's just Lonnie's lens. But truly think about it, if your femininity lives in someone else's perception of you and effect on you, then it can be taken away. What happens when the relationship ends? What's left of your femininity then? Do you just start the casting process for your next masculine stand-in for whatever performance you're putting on?
Exactly.
I don't know how this works. I genuinely just do not like this idea of casting people for the roles that we want in our life, for the narrative that we want to put out and portray to the world. I think it's very
It's like them must say how feminine you gonna be depend on the person when you deal with. Say I tell me say when you deal with that person you change. Why not just be yourself? Regardless of who you deal with, and why you have to fall in them feminine like bracket here. If some things are just you want that you want, then it happen to be in them bracket there, then so be it. But don't like force yourself to be like, oh, I have to be dependent because that feminine and me there with him and me like, no. And the same thing on our side too,
gross, to be honest with you. It feels really inauthentic, and it doesn't feel like it has any interest in getting to know other people and actually how they can impact you in your life, just people that fit the narrative that you want to portray to the world. And I think it erases other people and what they actually are for what we want them to be, and I think that's a really dangerous mindset to have. I think we need to wake it up. This isn't unique to women either. We see the same pattern playing out for men, like in the Louis Theroux documentary. Influencers and public figures telling them the keys to becoming their best, most masculine selves, always measured in external markers like money, fitness, or access to women. For women, it's a specific combination of hairstyles, makeup routines, and athletic jackets that can be conveniently found on TikTok Shop or in a femininity coach's course. As if any of these things in the right combination.
I'm telling them I drink the same coffee, the gym sweater them where I don't have to gym alone, a gym and just winter sweater with them wear everywhere all in sun hot. They on TikTok, so I just tell you like things when I see in a real life. That's all.
Unlock something essential about who you are. But the goal is always optimization instead of self-discovery, and the end goal is to sell you a product, lifestyle, relationship, and ideal of femininity that is conveniently always out of reach, but always monetizable. And the result is men and women everywhere.
And look, like, me not blame we the people, because all of we brainwashed to some extent, So it just depends we if deconstruct if that's the right word, feel like learn and take a step back and say, wait, I actually want this, or this are what them want me to want,
performing their gender rather than embodying it. So we end up endlessly chasing external validation without ever tapping into our individual humanity. If you couldn't tell, I'm very passionate about this. I just want people to be themselves and be themselves. Like, be yourself. Be yourself.
Be yourself. It's all right. It's not that deep. Be yourself. You don't talk like that. You don't walk like that. You don't act like that. Come on. Be yourself.
I'm a very big advocate of authenticity and being yourself. It's truly freeing. Through my brief stint in divine femininity spaces online, I couldn't help but notice just how many Black women adopt and promote this ideology and rhetoric.
Look. I just something I miss see, but like, look, all of them were talk about like feminine. Nothing wrong with it, but all of them have straight here.
And it's genuinely made me a little sad. Another reason I instinctually distance myself from femininity is because I am a Black woman, and the traditional version of femininity in the Western context was never intended to include people that look like me. And my response has been to reject that framework entirely. I have no desire to fit into a mold that was not built for me, and the gag is, it doesn't even serve the women it was intended for in the first place. But that's a whole other can of worms. Femininity has become a gatekept status marker rather than a lived experience, and when something can be taken away, people will fight fight to protect their access to it, even at the expense of others, especially at the expense of others. It's kind of weird. It becomes a weird way to reclaim power by marginalizing other people. It's really dark. This is also why so many cisgender women fall so easily into transphobia and begin policing how trans women express themselves. When you've internalized the idea that femininity has to be earned, it implies that it can also be taken away. And it's also a status symbol to show that you have the power to take it away from people. And the wild thing is that a lot of cis women want to have it both ways. They want to argue that their femininity is something inherent to them and that trans women can never fully embody, while constantly using external markers and validation to affirm their own femininity. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But the thing that makes that framework particularly cruel when applied to Black women is that femininity is supposed to grant you protection. Softness, vulnerability, and femininity are framed as qualities that make you worthy of care, safety, and defense. But Black women, and more specifically Black trans women, are the most targeted and most overlooked demographic, regardless of how we present. We are immediately deemed less feminine and less worthy of protection. So the very reasonable and rational response to that is to become fiercely independent and self-sufficient so you can protect yourself, which then gets labeled as masculine and is less feminine and therefore less worthy of protection. So the cycle continues and perpetuates itself. A wonder that I don't want to participate in that. And I think that's why a lot of Black women are trying so hard to buy into this ideology and prove themselves feminine enough, worthy of care. I understand. I personally don't think it should be that hard. I shouldn't have to prove that I am a person worthy of protection and care, so I'm not going to. But I completely understand why some people feel comfort in taking control of that and feeling like they're moving towards this ideal, even though sadly it will never be the case. It will never be the case, which is why I won't buy into it. But I don't want to fault or blame people that want that sense of security. I don't want to do that either. Western ideas of femininity are built to exclude us regardless of what we actually do, so I reject it altogether. Not necessarily femininity itself, but what it has been allowed to mean and who it has been allowed to belong to. My personhood, my womanhood, is something I am continuously discovering and defining for myself, and I've had to learn that that's not a loss. In many ways, it's truly been a gift. The last thing I'll point out about the femininity copy pasta is how rehearsed and intellectualized it all is. There's just something so stiff, inauthentic, and studied about it. For how much these women talk about it just feeling right and natural, that feeling never translates, to me at least. It feels more like a pre-approved press release statement, a performance that closely resembles a sales pitch. So I'd like to present an alternative to the performance of femininity: embodiment. Embodiment is the active process of living through the felt, sensory experience of the body rather than solely through mental cognition. It involves consciously inhabiting one's physical self and integrating mental, emotional, and physical sensations. It is the tangible, present moment expression of an idea, spirit, or self. I do these 30-day challenges every month to push myself out of my comfort zone and discover new possible passions, and this past month, I decided to seriously learn how to wind my waistline. I mentioned winding back in my MAGA video in January, and I really hated the way I phrased it as being a part of my mom's culture because I felt like I was distancing myself from it, and I was. So I wanted to reclaim that part of my cultural identity and find a new way to connect to my body on my own terms. In that video, I talked about how whining and art forms like it are inherently sexualized, especially through the Western lens, but whining is a dance style practiced by everyone regardless of gender and age in the Caribbean. As I've come to learn, whining is a sacred practice of embodying life and purposeful movement. It is a celebration of life through the waist, hips, and womb. I've been obsessed with this creator, Tessie Holistic, who is an educator and does tutorials on her channel. She also does talking head videos about the holistic nature of movement, and in one of her videos, she said something that really changed my view of my practice. You need to understand that the more you slow the movement down, the more you tap into your body, the more you tap into your sensations, which is what sensuality is all about. That's literally what it's all about, being present and feeling. Another way you can do this is try to remove the performance aspect of the dancing or the whining or the sensual movement by realizing that yes, it can be a performance, but also it's again all about connecting to yourself. So it's for you. If you do find yourself a bit more judgmental, don't do it in front of the mirror. Take the mirror away and tap into how you feel. This will help you start shifting from how you look to how you feel. The mirror to me represents the external gaze and validation so many of us seek out when defining our femininity, masculinity, and so many other facets of our personhood. The mirror is the partner whose presence unlocks your femininity, the TikTok shop haul, Pilates membership, or male validation. All of it's just a mirror or something outside of you that you can perform for instead of something inside of you that you can just feel and embody. So take the mirror and the performance aspect away and shift from how you look to how you feel. Embodiment doesn't require an audience or external validation because it's not something that can be taken away from you. I've come to love my whining practice for so many reasons. I mean, the waistline is water. The waistline is water. Wouldn't you like to know? Wouldn't you like to know? I'm kidding. Stay focused. I have to say weird things or I'll explode. But seriously, the main one is that it's mine. It's my individual celebration of life and connection to my body. There's nothing I had to do, no standard to meet, no masculine presence required to unlock anything about myself. Also, who are these? Have y'all met men? I don't know. I'm sorry.
Who are these niggas?
Tessie describes whining and other forms of sensual movement as part of one's feminine embodiment journey. I personally don't see whining as a solely feminine practice, but I don't think labeling it that way is wrong either. I'm simply happy that it exists and makes me feel embodied in a way that matters to me. I got a comment on a video the other day that said, "I really appreciate your videos and the fact that you make them kind of as a response to yourself to prove a point. It was nice to have someone articulate what I've been trying to achieve before having the language to describe it myself." There's been a lot of hoopla around commentary and video essay channels on YouTube lately, and it made me realize that I just adopted the title of video essayist because that was the pre-made lane that was offered on the platform when I joined. Much like how we adopt these gender roles and feminine and masculine labels. But that title's becoming less and less appealing to me as I continue my creative journey and define myself for myself. So yes, my content may align and overlap with video essays, commentary, and sometimes even academic work. Much like my expression, style, and essence overlaps with femininity. But at the end of the day, my goal in life is simply to become someone I'm proud to be and share it with others. If they also benefit from it, that's amazing. But more often than not, I'm just trying to make a point to myself so I can understand myself. Oh, why am I gonna cry? That's sweet. So to tie all this together, I encourage all of us in every area of our life to stop labeling, categorizing, commodifying, and selling ourselves and to others, and instead just start living and embodying what we are and wish to be. Simple, right? That is going to do it for today's video. If you made it this far, please leave this emoji in the comments below. What does femininity mean to you? What does masculinity mean to you? Does it mean anything at all? I would love to hear your thoughts, but either way, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you, as always, to my lovely patrons, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye, guys.
Great video. Let me go ahead and keep it out. Like. Okay. Alright. Only thing. Learn what leap. She basically say everything. Great video. And as usual, the video that down below, if you want to go watch it or check out our channel, then in the description. I don't know if I ever mention that, but all of the videos that I'm reacting to, it always in the description, so you can always go watch them for yourself or check out the channels. But yeah, great video, very informative. Me agree on everything. Never disagree with none. As I said, great video again. But I think I said that enough now. Great video. Okay, thanks for watching and bye.